Hey everybody, welcome back. I am God's humble messenger. In today's video, I come with a warning for the lost and a message that should excite believers. And I know how this will sound, especially with how people view the watchers and those who warn these days due to the enemy's deceitful machinations. But I'm tired of staying silent. The end is near. And before you click off this video, just hear me out. This video is based off the article on my website titled "The End is Near." I will put a link in the description below. You can also find more articles on my website you should definitely check out, with more on the way. You can also find links to my social media accounts on my website. Alright, on to my message for today. The end is near. There is no sugarcoating it. I mentioned in my last video that the enemy has done a masterful job comparing anyone who says the end is near to a loon in rags holding up a sign on the street. But the end is near, whether you want to believe me or not. Jesus is coming soon. Now, you could dismiss me as one of those loons. I mean, I'm just a normal person like you or anyone else. I'm not special, so don't take it from me. Take it from the Bible, from Jesus himself. I have biblical evidence that the end draws ever closer. There are quite a few things that have happened regarding the end of days. Some of them have already happened, some are unfolding right before us, and others are yet to come, with one big one seemingly coming to fruition in September. It may surprise you just how much is happening, and it all stems from what Jesus said in chapter 24 of the book of Matthew. The first thing I want to discuss comes from Matthew 24:9 and 10, which reads, "Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other." This verse, of course, alludes to the hatred and persecution of Christians, the defamation of the religion as a whole. This one seems pretty obvious, but it is one of the major signs of the times. Christians and Christianity are outright mocked and hated in this day and age. Christians are being persecuted and killed in Muslim countries, in India, and all over the world. This is exactly what Jesus was talking about in Matthew. We often think about the disciples and how they were persecuted and killed because they believed in Jesus. But this is also happening today. I was listening to Adrian Rogers recently, and he was talking about how more Christians have been killed in the last century than any other time period in history. And as far as the defamation of Christianity and people turning away from the faith, just look at how Christianity is portrayed and usually villainized in the movies, on TV, and in the news, and not to mention on social media. It seems like the enemy is doing everything they can to portray Christianity as anything except what it really is, a religion and faith of love. It is also no coincidence that it is being portrayed, defamed, mocked, etc., being that it is the only path to salvation. Also, here is something else to think about. No other religion is attacked the way Christianity is and has been, and it's only getting worse. The next signs that have come to pass and are continuing to come to pass are wars, earthquakes, famine, and plagues. Matthew 24:6-8 reads, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." Think about all the wars just since 1900. There are the major wars such as World Wars I and II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, and the War on Terror. Also think about what's been going on in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iran, and North Korea. Even now, Israel sits on the brink of war surrounded by its enemies. The current situation over there is like a powder keg ready to blow, and it could happen at any moment. It seems to be, and based on news reports, inevitable and could begin any day. I'll again turn to Adrian Rogers, who said that half of the people who have died in wars throughout history have died since 1900. Also, more wars have been seen by this generation than any other generation. Let that sink in for a second. Continuing with these verses, there seem to be earthquakes every day, all over the world, ranging from small to catastrophic. All the tsunamis that keep happening. And what causes tsunamis? Earthquakes below or near the ocean floor. It seems like every other day you hear about an earthquake or a tsunami somewhere in the world. Then there are the famines. People are starving all over the world. You would think in 2023 we would have solved world hunger by now, but it only continues to get worse. Famines run rampant throughout the world. Jesus also said there would be plagues. When thinking about plagues, the most famous one that many people think of is the Black Death or bubonic plague, which occurred in Europe, Asia, and in North Africa during the Middle Ages. But there have been many more pandemics and epidemics throughout history, including the bubonic plague coming back many times over the centuries. However, I just want to mention the pandemics and epidemics just since 1900. These include the Spanish flu or influenza A H1N1 from 1918 to 1920, the Russia typhus epidemic from 1918 to 1922, a second influenza pandemic of A H2N2 in 1957 and 58, a third influenza outbreak or A H3N2 in 1968 and 69, the HIV/AIDS epidemic from 1981 to the present, and of course the one we are living through right now, the COVID-19 pandemic, which began in 2020 and is currently ongoing. In every instance I mentioned, it only seems to be ramping up, and all of it is coming to a point. It's just like Jesus said. It is all birth pains leading up to the end and his return. Jesus also speaks about false prophets in Matthew 24:11, saying, "And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people." Adrian Rogers also touches on this, saying the word prophets does not necessarily mean religious people, but people of power or with influence. This could be philosophers, professors, scientists, statesmen, and the like. Now think about that for a second. Think about what they are trying to do in the schools and what colleges have become. The poisoning and indoctrination of the youth and young adults, leading them astray from traditional values and ways of thinking. And not just them, but people are being led astray everywhere. The last thing I want to mention that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 that has come to pass is that the gospel will reach every nation. In Matthew 24:14 he says, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." Now that does not say everyone will accept it, just that it will reach every nation. This has been done. The preaching of the gospel will happen worldwide. This has come to pass. It does not say the gospel will reach every single person, but it does say to all the world, all nations, which has come to pass. It is out there and available to everyone through a variety of different means. People going out and preaching, the Bible, TV, the internet, etc. I'm not telling you all of this to scare you. Actually, and I've said this before, the return of Jesus should excite you. You should be waiting with giddy anticipation. We will soon get to go home. However, it is said that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, so maybe a little fear isn't so bad after all. That said though, I am making this video to encourage you, to stir within you that sense of urgency needed in this time to save as many lost souls as possible. The end is near. You don't have to take my word for it. Go read Matthew chapter 24 and see what Jesus says about the end, and then compare it to what we have been through just since 1900 and everything going on around us. Then you will see that Jesus is coming soon. And that's my message for today. I hope you found something useful in today's message. Some encouragement, inspiration, or maybe just some comfort knowing that God is always working for your good. Please share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Also, if you have a story about how God touched your life or someone's life you know, email me. With your permission, I might want to turn it into a video. Even if you don't want me to share your story on my channel, email me. We can talk privately about your story or anything else you have going on. I'm happy to email back and forth about anything. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, that would be great and I would love that. But I want to mention that I don't do this for the views or the likes or to get as many subscribers as possible. I started this channel and make these videos to spread God's word, to spread hope, and to inspire. To allow Him to work through me with the hope that I can reach others. If I can get just one person to dedicate or rededicate their lives to the Lord, then I've done my job. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. God bless.